Awesome. Hello, beautiful people. Hello on the sunny afternoon when the sun is playing hide and seek, coming out of the clouds and saying, whoa, right in your face. But since I'm wearing yellow and I like yellow, one of my favorite colors, actually, there aren't very many colors that I don't like, but yellow is just kind of bright and cheery and I like it. So there we go. We're just getting some lights on. How it get any better than that? So welcome to another edition. This one may be less musing and more reading, but another edition of Musings and Contributions with yours truly, Rachelsilber. I am all sorts of things in the world, I suppose. One of them is an access consciousness facilitator. And so I am so grateful that I get to explore really these tools that have taken me out of the rut that I've been in, in any point in time in my life, whenever I've gotten stuck. I could go to judgment, been there, done that, got the t-shirt many times, or I could ask a question, I could use a tool, I could just get present and wonder. I could read something that would change things for me. Like I have choices now that I did not realize that I had beforehand. And one of the gifts for me of access consciousness is that I've received tools, tools that showed me that there is more, truly more to life than meets the eye or that meets what we've been told. Most of us have been told, well, I'm only telling you this because I love you. We've been judged, like constructive criticism judged, so that we can quote unquote improve. It's really interesting. So we go to judgment as a default in order to make ourselves better. But one of the gifts that I received from Access Consciousness is that we don't have to go to judgment for anything. We can actually, because judgment excludes, or judgment will only give you more of whatever it is that you're judging, whether it be on the positive side of the spectrum, this is good, this is right, this is wonderful, this is the way it should be, or whether it's on the other side of the spectrum. This is terrible. I don't want to see this in the world. This is horrible. How could this be happening? Whatever we either go to the positive polarity of or the negative polarity of, we tend to identify with that, notice more of that, vibrate more like that, and then have more and more of that in our lives, as opposed to anything else that could show up. When we're willing to be open, when we're willing to be present, when we're willing to be what in Access Consciousness we call allowance, that's when everything is included and nothing is judged. That's consciousness. And an allowance, it's all there. If I don't take a point of view about it, if I don't define it in any particular way, I can say this works for me or this doesn't. Certainly, I can have things that I prefer. Certainly. However, when I go into the resistance, I go into fight, I go into barricading it outside and not allowing different possibilities to show up in my life. So earlier, as I was going through some of my notes for different things that I'm working on, I got something from the reference materials of Access Consciousness, and I hope this can be a contribution to you as well. So I'll hop to it. So maybe it's a little less musing and more reading, but hey, how does it get any better? Again, if I speak about any of this stuff or use the clearing statement, you can find out more at accessconsciousness.com or theclearingstatement.com. Anyway, you are doing everything that you can to fit into this reality rather than go beyond. So just to reiterate from one of them, I can't remember when specifically we'd had the conversation about what makes reality. It's two or more people that align and agree on a point of view. So if you align and agree that something is a particular thing, that creates a reality. Now, you have bigger realities where you have lots of people that are in alignment and agreement about, aging, or about certain things in politics, or about, what happens when you hit 30 years old, or, whatever. There are different points of views where there are quite a few people who are sustaining that point of view and creating that as a reality. And I had held my charging cable, which is kind of far for me to reach right now, but basically two people, one holding the positive polarity, one holding the negative polarity, basically, and holding this tug of war rope up. The minute we let go of a point of view, the more fluidity is available in the world, the more possibility is available in the world, the more that reality isn't necessarily the only thing that's real and true. So anytime that anyone tries to pull a reaction out of you, tries to direct you, and you've got to blah, 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 look at that and notice it and notice that they're asking for this aligning and agreeing or resisting and reacting. You don't have to go there. You have a different choice available to you. So that's what reality is. And by your letting go of a point of view, by your being an allowance of a point of view, allowance being everything is just an interesting point of view, including that one that the person is presenting me. The huge kind of a gift that becomes, because it ripples through the world in a way that you can't even imagine. And it sort of desolidifies a lot of the this is the way it is into, wow, I never thought about that. There's another possibility here. So back to what I was reading. You are doing everything you can to fit into this reality rather than go beyond. You don't want to know how potent you are. You don't want to know how brilliant you are. You don't want to know how kind and how generous and how gentle you are, and how that will change everything in the world and give you more than what you have been asking for. You don't want to know how easy it can actually be. This reality is not a game. It is a choice that you made to come here specifically so that you can unlock it. So you could tie in and connect to every limitation that was imposed here on being, and to undo it. What a huge gift that is, to undo it. It's not a game, referring back to this reality. It was a conscious choice that you made of, I am going to use every capacity and every potency that I have. I am going to be in this reality. But you don't have to be of it, just in it, just adding a little musing there. I am going to be in this reality. I'm going to connect to every limitation that I need to unlock limitation so it doesn't ever overrun consciousness again. You are undertaking something that hasn't been done in 4 trillion years, that actually hasn't been done ever, where consciousness can actually coexist with polarity without being swallowed up by it. It is the first time that it's ever happened. You knew you had that much courage. You knew that you had that much awareness. You knew that you had that much potency. You knew that you had that much capacity. You knew that you were weird enough. You knew that you were different enough not to be swallowed up by the polarity called this reality, which is why you are here. It wasn't a game. It was a choice that you made to change the world and to change realities. The idea that it's a game is one of those spiritual, metaphysical concepts that screws us up. It's a reality that you're living. It's not just a game. It is a choice that you made to live in this reality in a certain way. Now it's time to choose to live a different way. If you'd like your life to change, and if you'd like the world to change, and if you'd like there to be different possibilities. Most of what you have as awareness goes beyond your ability to make it cognitive. Take everything that you are aware of right now in this 10 seconds. If you had to put a label to every single one of those energies that you are aware of right now, do you realize that it would take you the rest of your life to catalog just what you have an awareness of in this 10 seconds? So everywhere that you've bought the idea that translating all of your awareness into a cognitive solidity, into an understanding, in other words, rather than realizing that having the awareness in the first place is proof of your consciousness, will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. We are so highly aware. And yet, when we're that aware, rather than looking at what is the gift of this awareness, how much ease could I have with this awareness? Is this specific awareness relevant to my life? We tend to be, especially for more sensitive people or more tuned into the awareness that we have, we let that pull us down sometimes, or we feel like there's something wrong with us. We're quote unquote depressed, or we're frustrated, or we're fearful, or we're angsty, or whatever the case is. Well, what's really interesting is that you are so much more aware than anything that you've ever imagined. And rather than celebrating your awareness, acknowledging your awareness, having allowance for what you're aware of, recognizing that it's there, you're receiving information. You're receiving information through your body, through intensities, through everything. And rather than recognizing that we're getting this awareness, we think that we've got to do something about it, right? Rather than acknowledging that we're aware. When we acknowledge that we're aware, we can release it. We can ask even. There are 4 wonderful questions we ask in Access Consciousness that are explored a lot in a foundation class. What is this? What can I do with it? Can I change it? And if so, how can I change it? In other words, you may be aware of something. You don't have to conclude anything about it. You can ask a question. You can ask, what awareness is this? What information are you giving me, body? Or even a great one that there is an app for. You can find on either the Google Store or the Apple Store. It's called the, guess what? Who Does This Belong To app by Access Consciousness. It will allow you to have these reminders pop on your phone to ask, who does this belong to? And who does this belong to? And who does this belong to? And mind you, you don't have to figure out where anything belongs. You don't have to find the root cause of something. Because like broken telephone, we don't know where along the line, as we've been passing a message from one mouth to one ear to one mouth to one ear, where did the message get corrupted? Doesn't matter. We're picking up on something that's not ours. And we don't have to figure out who it belongs to. We're not hurting anybody by just saying, I'm letting it go. I'm returning it to sender with consciousness attached. Because very likely they didn't originate it either. And so this can go back to its origin. It can go back to wherever the heck it came from. And there could be a space for a different possibility around. If I had known that when I was in college, shortly after college, if I had known that I was actually highly aware, and that I was aware and perceiving and taking in me all of these different energies, I would not have been diagnosed as being depressed. I would not have been medicated out the wazoo for 15 years. I wouldn't have been injected with lithium, because I would have actually recognized that there's not a wrongness in me. There is this huge capacity, which is what I just read about, of awareness. And I can be aware about the world around me and not make myself of it. I can be aware of it, but I don't have to be the effect of it. I can be more space. I can be, and actually that's a great question that a friend of mine for years would give me. What space can you expand to? How much energy, how much space, how much consciousness can you and your body expand to and be that will allow you to never be affected, impacted, or impinged by anybody else's reality? And here comes little old Rachel, savior of the universe. and, I'd say, but, I want the information. But do we have to make it intense? Nah. And sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. And that's okay too. We can allow ourselves to be whatever is required in the moment. And if it's letting our body cry as a release, awesome. If it's asking to have our allowance level increase way beyond what our awareness is increasing to, awesome. We always have a choice, and there are always tools that are available to us. And that's why I so love the conversations, the tools, the possibilities that I'm invited to in Access Consciousness and beyond in different ways. Even just sitting in nature and hearing the birds and hearing the helicopters flying by. If I don't have a point of view that something is wrong and terrible, then, or that I have to do something about it, then I can begin to perceive and to receive the gift that's there in the moment. And that's something that's very different, because this world is built on getting you to react, on getting you to fight for or against something, to defend for or against something. That's what keeps polarity in place. That's what powers up this amazing, hideous matrix. If you guys haven't watched The Matrix, look at that. And look at, it's that charge, that positive or negative, that just powers this whole system up. And while that might be science fiction, I wonder how much of it actually applies. So what if we'd be willing to allow more? And there's a book, 52% into it. Damn it, I haven't made it through yet, but it's really good. And it's called The Gift of Allowance by Gary Douglas. And it is brilliant. And it will take you a little more into the space and the possibility that is allowance. And I hope that it would contribute to you. I hope all of these little snippets, these little conversations contribute, because they're a different way of looking at the world. They're a different way of looking at how you function. They're a different way of being. You don't have to react to people. You don't have to take anything that anyone says or does personally. Of course, unless they're coming to hurt you, like these people were hurt and taken away, the hostages on October 7th, who've been in captivity for 108 days, and may it not be a day longer. But for most intents and purposes, be aware. And that's another thing. okay, with awareness, with allowance, when you don't have a point of view of, oh, I shouldn't, I'm going against something, I'm fighting this, or this is the only thing I want. What you're doing is trying to filter what's coming in towards you by saying, oh, not to that, yes to this, not to that other. And when you do that, you put up so many barriers and barricades that you're not noticing things that can actually allow you to walk through the world in a different way. When my kids were little, I would say to them, be aware, not be careful. Why? Because as soon as I say careful, I'm already directing them to the other shoe's going to drop, something's going to fall on top of you, something's going to be bad, something's going to be awful. And you're already walking through the world almost projecting and expecting that something terrible is going to happen. When I say be aware, awareness includes everything. So they could be aware of, oh, I ain't going down this street, because they can perceive that there's like a crunch. I listened to a testimony of someone who survived the Nova Music Festival because she chose not to go. She had the ticket, but she got this like, no, I'm not a religious Jew, but this particular weekend, I'd like to keep the Sabbath. That's called awareness. Her boyfriend went, and her boyfriend passed away, as did many of her friends. But she trusted this inner voice that said, I'm going to make a different choice. Well, when you're willing to be aware and in allowance of what you're aware of, in other words, not trying to put up barriers or barricades to your awareness, then you can get the information of where to go, who to speak to or who not to. And you're not functioning from your head. You're not functioning from any conclusion. You're not functioning from, oh, I should, which is a great way to keep judging yourself with all the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. But it invites you to follow the whispers, to listen to the little nuances of the universe communicating with you, guiding you, showing you. And generally, the universe isn't going to take a 2x4 and whack you over the head with it. Generally. Sometimes maybe it does, but most of the time it doesn't. But it will show you that there is a different choice. And it's up to you to choose it, because we do live in something called a free will universe. It's up to us to choose. But when you're in allowance, when you are willing to notice without having to align and agree or resist and react, everything is available. Everything is included. And you can begin to follow the whispers that guide you, if you're willing, to a path of lightness. The more lightness you choose, as true will always make you feel lighter, and a lie will always make you feel more compressed and contracted and heavy. The lightness, if you're willing, will guide you to having the reality that you'd like to have. So what are the infinite possibilities when we stop rejecting the gift of our awareness, the choice for allowance, and the capacities that we have beyond anything we've ever acknowledged before, imagined before, chosen before, and turned up before. So what else is possible? Thank you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.